Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I am coming back at you with another Wargaming Weekly. Yeah, I told you last week that the semester might have ended. Well, in fact, it did. And my wife's day to go in did change from Tuesday to Wednesday. So we're back on Wednesdays. So, no problem. I told you that the show was going to follow my wife's in school semester, what do you call it, day that she goes in and works in class. So that'll leave the house empty so that it won't have any interruptions. I've had a couple of these. This is a strawberry lemonade. It says a couple of things on the box, on the can box. It says a couple of things on the can that I found alarming. Not alarming. Refreshing, we'll say. Refresh. No. These right here. Let me go ahead and put my painting glasses on because I am going to be painting some British paras here in just a moment. That's the 90% of the stream is going to be myself painting these British. Okay, advanced hydration. I've never seen a Monster energy drink that hydrated you. I always thought most of those carbonated monsters would give you a dehydration. It says electrolytes, and it goes into all the electrolytes. Na plus K plus Ca plus M, whatever. Reduced fatigue, increased concentration. Okay, well I expected those from a energy drink. Vitamins. Okay, whatever. Coconut water. Okay. I knew I loved coconut water. And botanicals. Okay. It's got thistle. Milk thistle quercetin. Okay, whatever. But either way, what I'm saying is I've had like 3 or 4 of these already. Okay, this would be like, yep, yeah, this is like my 5th one. And it does what it says. Because it's kind of like, goes down easy. It's non-carbonated. It tastes a lot like lemonade. I could drink 1,000,000 of those. And it doesn't give me like the jitters. Okay. But I didn't mean to drink that. I meant to just show it off because I've got my tea right here. And this is not a flavored tea or anything. This is just Lipton black tea. It's what I like to drink in the morning. Okay, so I've been painting these British paras. We're going to continue on. I don't know if you can see all this. Oh, you can. Focus might be a little off. Let me see if I can fix that because the autofocus tends to not always adapt, based on my microphone might be in the way and it focuses on the microphone and not on the figures or whatever. So I'm just going to adjust the focus manually here just for a second. Yep, it's on auto. Wow, no focus change. Huh, weird. Yeah, that's a little weird. Wait, what camera? Oh, no wonder. I'm on this camera. No wonder it's all messed up. Okay, let's get back to doing what I was doing. I'm on the wrong focus. Silly me. Okay. Ooh. Okay. That focus is better. Okay, let's what an idiot. Oh, it won't let me change while I've got this open. Okay, let's change to the proper camera. There we go. Ah, there we go. We got the right focus working. Okay. I was wondering why the other settings were all messed up. Yeah, okay, all these settings are good. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so I've already started painting, as you can see. Got these guys with their smocks on and all that good stuff. What is it? I want to say Genison. Genison smocks? There's a word for it. But it's a specific smock, and I might have the wording wrong. But I'm taking I'm taking a little guidance on painting these from Plastic Soldier Company. They have a British Para Vallejo paint list of what you need to paint them and where and what to paint. And so I modified it to what I believe to be true, but I also it enlightened me a little bit on what colors I should be using for specific portions of the paint. And primarily, something that really stood out to me was their harnesses, their straps, shoulder straps, belt, webbing. They recommend it should be Russian uniform. And in the past, I've always painted it a khaki color, but they're saying it's more of a greenish khaki, which is the Russian uniform. So I'm going to do that, as well as like their metallic equipment, like anti-tank guns, Piats, the ammo, the mortar, the ammo cases that they carry are all this Russian uniform. And in the past, I had always painted it with like a really dark, like an olive gray. But they're saying that it's not. They're saying it should be Russian uniform. And then they said their helmets are 50-50 Russian uniform and olive gray. So you mix it up and paint. And I just went ahead and instead of doing that, I just used, wasn't Russian green, it was dark green, I do believe. That's German uniform. There's a dark green. maybe not like a black green. It was. Did I leave it out? No, that should no. Well, crap. There's olive drab, but we don't want that. Russian green, no. There should just be a dark green. And I might have put it back over here somewhere, but I don't see it. I actually don't see it up here. Unless this is it. That is it. Okay. So I used this. So I visualized and I said, okay, if I go 50% Russian and I go 50% olive gray, that kind of looks like it fits in the middle. So I just went ahead and used that instead, just straight up. That's what the helmets are. All right, enough of that. Okay, put that guy back in there. Let's get to painting. Okay, so now, not every one of these figures, but about 4 or 5 of them have these puffy collars, right? I'm going to fix something. Give me a second. Okay. Why can I not? There I go. Yeah, because I found myself leaning over here and then I was off camera, which is fine. They've got these puffy collars. Well, they're not really puffy collars. What they are, and this is, the American paratroopers did this as well. I actually have a parachute that actually I bought a what do you call it, a swatch, I guess what you would call it, of a parachute from World War II, and I used it as a scarf in memory of our World War II brethren. And that, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. And that's what it is. What they did was when they jumped in and they landed, they would, and I can see this guy's got one, they would pack up their chute, and they bundle it up and hide it or whatever. But a lot of them, before they left, they would take out their trench knife and they would cut a piece of this parachute off, and because it's silk, or it's super soft, and they would put it between their uniform and their neck for comfort. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check every one of these figures and got to make sure they don't have that parachute collar, because if they do, I need to paint it. That was close. Okay. For those of you that are wondering, there are 3 brands of British paratroopers here. 80% of these is called, what do you call them? Majority of these guys are from offensive miniatures. I really like the offensive miniature models. They have a lot of good detail on them. They're easy to paint. One thing I don't like about them and I think I mentioned it when I did my what's in the box review. Okay, this guy's got some parachute around his neck. I did a what's in the box review of the offensive miniature British Paris. I mentioned that there's one thing I don't like, and that is they are realistically scaled. Some people love that. I personally do not. I want the majority of them, like their bodies and their arms and their head and their everything like that, to be realistically scaled. But I don't want their weapons to be realistically scaled. I want them to be upscaled. Oops. Because I want it to look good on the battlefield, and you get when the weapons are to scale with the figure, you get this perspective illusion when looking at your figures on the table that their weapons aren't big enough. But if the weapons are upscaled a little bit, then it balances out. It gives that perspective illusion. It counterbalances it, makes the weapons look the proper size. But if you're looking for 100% accuracy, then offensive miniatures is the way to go, in my opinion. Another set of miniatures that I'm included in here are West Wind Berlin or Bust British. Okay, he's definitely got some. That's about 8 or 10 models out of this allotment. And they're mostly headquarters figures, like the radio men and the officers, because that pack was basically a command pack. And so that's what I got out of that. But I figured, why not just paint them all at the same time with my offensive miniatures. I'll paint the West Wind guys at the same time. And those guys, I've got a little bit of a problem with those guys. They're super bulky, right? Comparatively, they're like, oh, you can't see it, but which is good, right? Because that's distance on the battlefield. They're basically extra chunky, which I told you I love, but that's not true. Their bodies are extra chunky. Their weapons are actually to scale. So that gives you a reverse perspective, right? It makes the weapon look even doubly smaller, even though it's the actual right size. The guys are just too big. Yeah, so I don't know. And then the third manufacturer is called 28s. That's all it's called, just 28s. And they don't look like they've got any kind of quality standards. It's like some of the models are big, some of them are perfect, some of them are small. So I don't know. But the reason why I have 28s out here is because they made a good anti-tank gun, because this anti-tank gun is part of the 28s. And they had anti-tank rifles and what was it? An anti-tank rifle and basically a 4-figure team. I don't remember what the other figures were, but they're intermixed inside here. Okay, we're getting there. No, wait. Wait a second. Yeah. They did an Australian anti-tank rifle. I thought I was going to be painting them up at the same time as the British Paras, but they looked like they were desert. So I'll hold on to them and paint them up when I do some 8th Army guys. Which I've got some Perry 8th Army still in the box over there, that not the 30-man box set, but like some 6-man world, part of their 28mm medals. They made, they make not a whole line, but they do have some metal World War II guys, and a few of my 28s are from that. I might consider breaking open an 8th Army box from Warlord Games and then doing it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to let that sit. Okay, so that's all the parachute scarves, and I used gold and olive from AK, just so you know. Okay, now I've got all these colors lined up, kind of like in the way. I took 2 minutes this morning, and because I had a big pile of metal, I had a big pile of paints that I knew I wanted to use, but I went in and organized them, mentally prepared myself to paint and which ones I needed first. I'll do that usually with my Napoleonics. I will get out all the colors that I plan to use for that particular unit or whatever. Speaking of which, I did finish a couple of Napoleonic units that I have in a box right there. When I finish this color, what we'll do is we'll break them out. Just so you know, I'm using Crick's Bane base. It's a P3 color. Crick's is one of their nations of their game. They named all their paints after the various nations. So you would, as a painter, you would know which one to go to for your nationality or whatever. I got this color out only for one model. Here he is. He is a flamethrower. You can't really see him, but he's got the big thing on his back. I know the focus. I turned autofocus off, so it's focusing on the figures. But he's got this hose that comes out of the bottom of the fuel tank, goes around his body and up to the back side of the sprayer. I use this color when I need like a rubber color, like tires, or in this case, fuel line. And that was all I needed it for. Just that one simple fuel line. Color, done. Now normally, like on the anti-tank gun, I didn't use this. I used tire black. This is a Model Air from Vallejo. It's really good for doing tires. But I didn't want that gray. I wanted it to be more, I wanted it to be darker, a darker gray, so I went with a Crick Space. I'm very picky when it comes to colors that I use on my models. Speaking of which, okay, I got, before I get into showing you these guys, okay, I can tell just by looking at them I haven't put a dull coat on them. I need to do that. I could probably do that today after the stream. I'll do a dull coat. It's been fairly beautiful outside, low humidity, so you don't ever want to spray a clear coat of any kind in a humid environment because it'll turn everything white. So you want to make sure it's non-humid, or you do it inside with a dehumidifier or something like that. Okay. Okay, okay, this model, okay, I'm jumping around, sorry. I'm going to say it while I think about it. This model came with 4 crew members, right? You got 1, 2, this guy, and this guy. So it came with 4 crew members. But when I look at the Warlord Games 17-pounder anti-tank gun, it says it's got a crew of 5. Right, so that's bullshit. No, that just means I'll grab one of these guys and put it on there. Okay, so yeah, painting, colors. Guys, this is not a, this is a PSA, I guess. I don't know. It's a reiteration or a rehash or I want to re-emphasize to any of my customers out there that might be watching this stream, or a potential customer, if you plan to send me some models to paint for you, I will do my due diligence. I will make sure that I research the colors. I'll research other people's recommendations, for one thing. That's where I start. I go, recommendations. What do you got? Okay, sounds good. That gives me a baseline of what I hear other people doing. And then I will go to history. I will pull up the unit, the uniform, and I will look at an actual uniform, a photograph, and a modern photograph, because colorization doesn't always get it correct. So a photo, like let's say a Australian in the desert. I'm going to use that as an example. I'm not going to take an Australian in the desert photograph that's been colorized, because now I understand the people that do colorizations really take it to heart and they will do their best, but it's not the real deal. It's someone's colorization. So what I'll do is I'll go to post-war photos of those uniforms, because when color photography or color video started to come in to its own. Or I will look at museum pieces, things that are hanging up in a museum. I will look at painting guides, other people that paint. And I will also look at text like uniform manuals from the period. And they describe our equipment was painted with this color. And I'll be like, okay, what is that color? And then I'll research it to find out what that color is. Because a lot of times color names have changed over the years. Believe me when I say this, I take pride in getting it right. Okay. Having said that, I've had customers tell me that I've done a wrong thing. Okay, like they'll say, this rifle, they didn't use mahogany, they used oak, so the color shouldn't be brown, it should be brown +1 or whatever, right? Or they'll say things like the helmet was olive green, but when they went to the field, they painted it to make it olive gray. So I painted it olive green and they wanted it olive gray. Or something like that, just as an example. Not only does that hurt my feelings that they think that I didn't care or I didn't do any research, they're usually wrong. Well, I'm going to say 100% time. They're wrong. Every time someone's recommended or advised me that the uniform that I'm coloring or painting is not the correct color. Okay, first of all, I do take, and this is me admitting something, I do take a little bit of a liberty. Like these guys' helmets, like I just explained earlier. It's supposed to be Russian green and whatever the color was, green olive mixed to make the color, and then I wound up using dark green, which is a color that is halfway between these two colors. So yeah, I took a little bit of a liberty, right? Okay. When, like on these guys, their pants are English uniform brown, right? It's yeah, that's it. That's actually it right there. English uniform brown. Okay. So far so good? Right. When I go to wash these guys, it will take that color down darker, just maybe one category. It'll make it slightly darker. I anticipate this. So a lot of times I will come back and highlight with something like maybe this. Which English brown, right? English uniform with wash will make this slightly darker, and then I will come back and highlight with this, which will wind up actually being a really good highlight. And then what all they see when they get the colors in is it's not the right color. It's lighter than it should be or whatever. That's perspective, because you can say a million different things about it, but That's just the nature of painting miniatures. You highlight, you darken, you adjust colors to make it look right, not to make it accurate, not to make it a one-for-one. That's not what painting's about. Painting is about making the figures look good, right? And accuracy is very important. I get that. Colors are very important. I get that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I take my criticism seriously. And on the customer relations part of it, if you're a customer, you want what you want. And so you're going to say, I want this. Okay, that's fine. That's what we'll do. If you want pink berets, then I'll give you a pink beret. I will feel uncomfortable doing it. But if that's what you want, if you want to... Okay, why is my mic peaked so high? I'm going to lower that, guys. I'm sorry, it was peaking. If you want it to be inaccurate, let me know, and I will do it inaccurate just for you. I don't mind doing that. But don't come to me after I've already painted it, and I painted it accurately, and you think that you're right, which everyone in the world thinks they're right, so I get that. You think they're right, and you tell me something, and then I will reply with, look at all these examples of why I'm right. This is why it's painted this way. Do you still want me to change it? And if they say yes, then I throw my hands up and I say, okay, this guy wants me to paint pink berets. Okay, that's fine. I'll do it. There was a recent, there has been a recent customer. He's a really good customer, guys. He's probably my best customer. But just recently, within the last couple of months, his personality's changed. He's starting to complain about the littlest things. And I understand he wants what he wants, right? He wants it to be right. But and I will do what he says because he's the boss, right? He's the one paying it. But in my head, and this is why I'm saying it to you guys. In my head, I am saying, okay, that's why I moved. No, it didn't matter. I adjusted my, oh, I see. Hold on. Oh, okay. My boom is starting to come off the table. So let me take 2 seconds. You can probably hear me while I'm doing this. Hopefully you can hear me while I'm doing this. Because I'm not unplugging anything. I'm just fixing the bracket on the table. Oh, okay. I see. Where it slid. Okay, cool. He's right in getting it done the way he wants. He's a customer. I'm going to respect his wishes, but it bothers me because I know I did it right. Right? He says, hey, paint it this way. And I say to myself, what are you thinking? What are you even asking? I can't believe you're asking me to do that. And then I think to myself, okay, maybe he's right. You know, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I'll be like, okay, let me go back and double check my work. Let me make sure I didn't mess something up. Okay, now my boom is like sturdy as hell. So I go back and check the work, and I say, I'm right. I know I'm right. All this evidence says I'm right. And that's what bothers me, because I should take comfort. I should take comfort in knowing that I did it right. But it bothers me that a customer, any customer, would not believe that it's done right, and they want it done wrong. And that's what bothers me. They're asking me to do something wrong, and I do it because of the money, and I feel like a whore. If that makes sense. I feel bad. I'm sitting there trying to paint his models perfect and get them done exactly the way they should be, and then I get a email saying, why did you paint them this color? Okay. Part two of my complaint. Before I show you part two. While I got it in my mind. Part two. There's a lot. This should be a final topic on the whole painting debacle. If you are a customer of mine, and first of all, thank you. I appreciate you being a customer of mine. Will do everything in my power to do right by you. Okay. I say that right off the top. So let's say you get me to paint some French infantry. I'm going to use this as an example because this has not ever been the case. You get me to paint you some French. Let's say you get me to paint the 4th French Light Regiment, right? But you only want me to paint the 1st Battalion. You say, here we go. I got the 1st Battalion painted up for me, and I get in there and I paint it up, and I'm like, perfect. And then I send it to you. It looks good. Everything's great. You're happy. Great. Over the next few months, I paint a ton of French, either for myself or other customers or for the store. So I paint a bunch of French, and I come up with this new technique, right? I saw somebody else do it. I thought I would experiment with it, and it works. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is a really good technique. I'm going to paint all my French like this, X. Customer 1 contacts me back, and he says, you did a good job for me. I've got another battalion. I'd love you to paint for me. I need the 2nd Battalion of the 4th Light. Awesome. No problem. Bring them on. I got it. So he mails them to me. I paint them with my new technique because it's much better. It looks better. Everything flows better. On the table, they look better. Everything's better. That's why I would pick it to do it, is only if it's better. I send it to him. And then he says, this is an example. This is not, well, this is a modified example because something like this just recently happened. But I'm using French as an example so that it'll throw everybody off. Why did you paint? These 2 battalions don't look anything like each other, right? I put them side by side. One looks azure and the other one looks indigo. What the hell? Why do they look different? You know, this wash made them look dirty and grimy, and this wash makes them look clean. And I don't like the way you did this, or whatever. That bothers me because I put the effort in to improve the quality of my work, the paint, the technique, the colors. I wanted to improve, but because he's comparing them to something I did a year ago or a few months ago, then, and they are different, legitimately, they will look different on the table, he's complaining. I pulled my hair out. I don't have a lot of hair to be pulled out. So that upsets me, frustrates me. So I've considered, well, I've actually typed a very small sentence, but I think I need to elaborate on this. On my eBay store, I don't know if you guys visit my eBay store. I actually listed costs for commission work. Before it was word of mouth. It was you email me, I tell you. Different customers might have different prices based on, I didn't have anything written down. I was basically just going by gut, right? If it's an easier paint job, I might have said it was an easier or a cheaper price. And if it's a harder paint job, I might have made it a hard, So I actually put like a list. This is how much it is. Take it or leave it. In addition to that, this is after encountering 2 or 3 incidents of this painting color issue, I've put on my eBay store, get over it. That's not what I said, but basically I said I will do everything in my power to ensure that the colors are correct. I will use 3 to 4 different references, and really I use probably 20 or 30 to be honest, but I will use 3 or 4 different references to ensure that I'm getting the right colors on your model. But there might be some discrepancies. There might be some, and I cannot be held accountable for that. If first of all, you can take any nation in any year, in any theater, any unit, and they're going to have differences in their uniforms. There's no two alike, even in today's army. They try to make them the same, of course. They issue them the same. That's not always true either. Even the U.S. Army has different manufacturers for uniforms, just as an example. Depending on where that fabric was made or what year the fabric was made, when it was stitched into the uniform, will determine what colors are prominent. That's just an example of modern uniforms. Same thing happened in World War II. They had various different fabric manufacturers, and they were given to different seamstress, I don't, what do they call it on the mass production? Well, uniform makers, I'll just call them. They were put together different sometimes. Buttons were in the wrong places, or patterns were inside out, or patterns were vertical when they were supposed to be horizontal. Stuff like that. So I don't want to be held responsible for your interpretation of what a uniform was supposed to look like when I paint it a specific way. I don't want to put on there no refunds, but I should. I guess I should. I should put on there that basically, I want to tell people I will do my best to ensure that the uniforms are painted historically accurate, but also with some, and I can throw this in there, also with some what's the word I'm looking for? With some I'm not going to say modifications. There's a word for it. Interpretation. With some interpretations that will allow the figure to look good on the table. And due to that, the paint jobs are final or something like that. And don't worry that your paint jobs are going to be inaccurate, because they won't be. Or something like that. So I need to add that basically to protect myself and to stop people from contacting me. And this has only been, there's really only been 2 people that's ever contacted me about a paint job. And one of them was not even my customer. He just saw something on my store, commented on it, and he was correct. And I appreciated that comment. It was about the British Lee Enfield. There was something, I painted something that I shouldn't have painted on the Lee Enfield. And he said, hey, the Lee Enfield looks like this. It doesn't look like this. And he was comparing it to another rifle. And I was like, really? And so I checked, and I was like, oh my God, he's right. And so I went in there and fixed it, no problem. It was just a little touch up. That I appreciated. The second person, his first like bundles I've done for him, no comments. The new wave of stuff, I've got boxes of his stuff waiting to go over there. He's being nitpicky. Another thing, decals. I love some decals. I'll do decals. That's not a problem. I'll do decals for you. If I've got the decal and you want them placed on the model, or if you send me the decals and you want me to place them on the model, I will do that. What I don't like doing is, if a guy sends me a model and he says, would you now go put some XYZ decals on them? Well, first of all, I don't stock decals. I don't keep a stack of decals on my shelf. So if you're asking for these decals, either you need to send them to me, or I need to go out and buy them, and you'll have to wait for them to be delivered to me before I can apply them. And then of course I'm going to charge you for that because I have to buy them. But that bothers me because it delays the whole process, basically. But specifically, I get them from Warlord Games, usually, for their models. For World War II bolt-action models, I go to Warlord Games for decals. Simple enough. I'm going to use this as an example. The American decals. I will order them. I will get them in. He wants me to apply the MP decal. MP. No problem. I don't have any problem with that. I apply the MP decal. He gets them. And then, okay, let me back up. I don't remember applying these decals. I do not remember doing any MP models. So I have a feeling that he got these MP decals done by another artist. Or he did them himself, possibly. But the MP decals on the Warlord Games US decal sheet are black bands with red lettering. And he thinks, or wants, it to be white lettering. Do you know how small the letters MP on that decal are? They are small. They're not as small as Airborne on the Airborne tabs, but they're small. They're like 1 millimeter tall. Maybe 2. Maybe 2 millimeters tall. And he wants me to go in and repaint the M and the P with white lettering. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. You know? The decal comes from Warlord Games, black with red lettering. But he said they're supposed to be white, which they probably are, just from memory. But I'm thinking that's black and white video. I'm going to have to take a look. It probably is supposed to be white. I know the modern MP is white, but that doesn't mean World War II MP was white. I think Warlord Games put British MP decals on everybody because I know the British are black with red lettering. But I would think that all of the allies would have the same MPs because I think they share. But either way, I'm going to have to take a look at that. Okay, so before I get into my next color, I just want to show these guys off real quick. I'm not going to zoom in on them or anything because if you want to see these in their glory, I did a video, 15 millimeter Napoleonic project, where I talk about my 95th rifles as well as these guys. These guys are Hanover light field battalions, I'm sorry. They are green. There is a slight difference between the two light field battalions. It's not very big. There's some minor differences between them. But like I said, I do my research before I do any painting. But these are my personal ones. And then this one is the Field Jaeger Corps. In the Field Jaeger Corps, I modeled them down as skirmishers. So I put them on 30 by 30 squares. Basically 4 in a square. So that if deployed in line in their 2 ranks, they're going to be longer than if I deploy 4 bases. They're exactly the same as a 6 base unit, okay? But 4 bases, these take up more space because they're in skirmish, they're spread out, they're doing their thing, where these guys are tight order, what Wargames Research might call them heavy infantry, or whatever. They're basically 4 figures on a 40 millimeter base. Okay, the flags are from 15 Fighting 15s. The Fighting 15 flag brigade, because you buy the flags in brigade bundles. You can buy individual units or whatever, but usually when you get a sheet, you get the whole brigade, all the battalions from the brigade, and these are all from the same brigade. They did include the flag for these guys. I just opted not to use it because I based them as if they were in skirmish, and the flag wouldn't be waving if they were out there skirmishing. I could have put it on this, but I just didn't want to do that. So basically, I'm going to have this extra flag. But, yeah, Fighting 15 flags look really good. I'm liking them. The big difference is the musicians, the buglers from this unit to this unit. He has red cuffs. This guy does not. They all have black, this and this have black collars and cuffs. So that's not very big of a difference. But the musicians in this unit have red cuffs, or theirs is still black. Now they have the red pom-poms and the red epaulets for the musicians on both. Big thing about Lüneburg is that their officer corps wore these light blue pants. So the officers are going to have light blue, where Grubenhagen, which is these guys, double checking, yes, Grubenhagen, their uniforms are going to be the same, right? Now, every uniform in Grubenhagen has the gray trousers, where Lüneburg has a mixture of gray and green. So you're going to see some guys with green trousers, some guys with gray trousers mixed in. It doesn't differentiate their company. It doesn't mean they're part of the elite company or anything like that. I thought it would, but it doesn't. Yeah. So those guys are done. Now, I did this bundle specifically thinking these were all green tunics. So it was going to be do them all at once, get the green guys out of the way. And then when I got about 90% done, I realized there was one more battalion that I need to do that has green tunics, not the 95th because I've already done them, was the Osnabrücks, or the Duke of York. And I only know that because I was looking at my 28s on the shelf over there that I'm selling, and one of them was Osnabrück, and they're wearing green tunics. And I was like, what the heck? So then I did some research, and I was like, yep, they're supposed to be green tunics. So I could have had one more battalion, because the time difference between doing 4 battalions and doing 3 battalions is negligible, almost non-existent. 2 battalions I can do very fast. If I throw in a 3rd battalion, it usually takes an extra day or 2. Because the first two battalions, if I do them okay, let's talk a little bit about that. If I do 1 battalion, it'll take me 2 to 3 days. It's honest. If I do 2 battalions, you would think that it would take me 4 to 6 days, right? Well, it does not. It takes me about 3 days. I can do 2 battalions in about 3 days. But as soon as I add that 3rd battalion, it stretches everything out, and it'll take me about 4 to 5 days to do 3 battalions, which is what I did. It took about a week. I'm like, okay, 3 to 5 days, or 4 to 5 days. But if I was able to put the Osnabrücks in there, it probably would have taken me about 6 days. If they're different colors, like if I do a British and a French battalion, then you can just double the time because it just screws everything up. That's why I try to do same color battalions at the same time. So I wish I had thought about it and did the Osnabrücks, because now I'm going to do the Osnabrücks at some point by themselves, and it'll only take me about 2 to 3 days. But still, they'll be all by themselves, because there's no other, there's no other Green battalions that I can think of. Okay, I don't know if you noticed this on these guys. We're getting ready to color in the, I have Jack Bone that I'm using for their little toolkit on their back. They all carry this little toolkit on their back. Well, not all, because like he didn't have one. And the tank crews or anti-tank guns, I don't think they have little toolkits on their back. But most of the paratroopers are going to have little toolkits on their back, and it's going to be this color. Jack Bone. It's a little bit whiter or a little bit lighter than khaki, right? Because that's khaki, and you can see khaki's a little bit darker. I didn't want it to be too dark. Okay. You notice how I said that? I didn't want it to be too dark. Okay, I think this might be the wrong brush. Actually, these brushes need a good cleaning. Okay. Way too much water on that brush. Okay, I just heard the mail going in the opposite direction. But you know what? I don't have any packages on order. I don't have any models coming. Actually, that's not true. I do have something from Amazon, but it's not supposed to be here until October, so I'm not really worried about that. When I got to painting the helmets, I skipped over the guys with the berets until I got to one of the guys. I just glanced down and I saw that like about half of these guys with berets have helmets hanging off their belts or whatever. So I was like, oh damn, I got to go back over all the berets and make sure I get their helmets if there are any. Yeah, this should go by pretty quick because there's only one thing I'm painting with this color. And it's the little toolkit. I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to say, that's not a toolkit, Mr. Everything. That's their blah, blah, blah. That's where they store their condoms. Yeah. So, I'm going to give a little pushback. I hadn't in the past, but I'm going to start giving a little pushback on these repaints. Or the, hey, I've got the wrong color. If I lose a customer because of it, I will be sad. But it will help my mental health. Because it bothers me. When somebody doesn't like my work, I feel like I've failed them. I put a lot of effort, a lot of work into it, and I failed. Not that it's wrong, because it's not. I don't make mistakes. That's not true. I make mistakes. But I feel like a carpenter in a way, like, what do they say? Measure twice, cut once. That's what I do. I double check my paint schemes, my paint colors. I reference them. I evaluate them. And I do everything in my power to make sure it's correct. Enough about that. All right. So let's talk about my Napoleonics rules. I see a lot of people left. That's all right. Probably have to go to work, or your lunch hour is over, or whatever. I get that. Oh yeah, there was something else I wanted to paint with this color. Oh, it just reminded me. That's okay. I'm going to do all these toolboxes first, and then I'll come back and paint the canvas burlap on their helmets. If they have burlap straps on their helmets, I'm going to paint them this color as well. I think that's a good looking color. And don't forget, I'm envisioning putting a wash on this, so I know it's going to change the color slightly. I know the color what's the word? Not the color wheel. Interaction with the different colors of wash. And I plan to use a dark or a strong tone on these guys. Maybe not a dark tone, but I plan to use a strong tone on these. These are all, this is not a commission. These are all going up on the eBay store. Give me about 3 days. They're going to go up. They'll be on there for auction. So it's highest bidder kind of deal. I will have them organized into, I think there's going to be 2 squads of about 8 models. And then there's going to be some individuals, like the radio guys maybe, and the officers. And then there's going to be the Piat teams, the anti-tank gun, the mortar, the medium machine gun, flamethrower, yeah, so sniper. Oh yeah, this is a light mortar, like the 2-inch mortar or whatever it is. Like here's a Piat. Oh, I didn't paint the Piat. Okay. I will need to paint the Piat. Nope. Okay. The radios, I took a little effort and pulled out my antennas, and I built little antennas for all 3 of the radios. And there's 3 different style of radios. I didn't know the British paratroopers, or the British in general, had such a large variety of radios. Might be why they couldn't communicate at Arnhem, because you got this big, huge monster radio that's on the ground. He's got a little antenna There's another guy with a radio on his chest. It's super small. I would say it's probably a company radio, maybe. One for a local area. I don't know where he might be. I might have already... Like, this is a big on-the-ground radio. Oh, this is a radio where it's in a satchel on his belt. No, I'm sorry, over his shoulder. And then there's another radio. I'm like feeling for antennas. Where is it? These are two radios. There should be a third radio where the radio is on the guy's chest. Okay, I can't see it. I'm blind. I am blind. Yeah, so there's a satchel radio, a giant backpack radio that this guy just happens to have it on the ground. Oh, no, that's not it. I'm looking at their backs, right, when his radio's on his chest. So oh, it's this guy right here. Oh, he's kneeling as well. I thought he was standing. That's why I wasn't looking at this guy. But he's got a radio on his chest with an antenna right there in his face. Okay, he doesn't have a toolkit. He doesn't have a toolkit. Neither does he. Okay. Yeah, these guys are gonna look good. I'm very confident in what I'm getting done here. It's probably going to be another day or two before I finish them. I was thinking I would finish them tonight, but that's not going to be the case because this is Wednesday, and Wednesday is my D&D game. I run a D&D game from 7 to 11. We're doing a Greek campaign. So if you're interested in Greek mythology, and if you're interested in D&D role-playing, I've got a pretty good group of guys. You should come check us out. Okay. Dry brush. I don't know if I want to dry brush. Yeah, I kind of want to dry brush in a way. Their helmets. But I also kind of don't. I think I want to wet brush them. Let me see. Whoa. Let me see. Yep, this should do it. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be a wet brush more than a dry brush. Let's grab one of these guys and just see what happens. Yep, the mailman is going back the other way. Oh, wait. Okay, I'll be right back. Oh, damn. Oh, man. It's all right. I had a package that I needed to go out, and I totally forgot about it until right then. You know what I mean? And I didn't catch him. So it'll go out tomorrow. It's a delay. 1 day delay. It was 3 American paratroopers. I guess they'll go out tomorrow. See, I don't like putting them in the mailbox overnight because you never know what might happen to them. You know, we got hoodlums or, street urchins. But not really that. It's just that my mailbox has been actually hit by cars in the past. I've actually had to repair a lot of the fence post and the post, the mailbox post. I've had to repair it a couple of times, and I feel like if I had a package out there, it might, it's possible something might hit the mailbox and then that package might get damaged or whatever. So what I do is, normally what I'll do is when I wake up in the morning, I'll go put packages out. That'll be the first thing I do. But today with the live stream, I totally forgot because I was setting up the cameras and stuff. Oh well. Okay, this is actually working really good. I'm not dry brushing. What I'm doing is I'm flat brushing. I don't know if you're familiar with that technique or whatever. But what it is, I get paint on the brush and then I use the flat side of the brush to push down onto the surface of the helmet. And a lot like dry brushing, only the raised area gets touched by the paint. Okay. That's fine. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one looks really good. All right. I don't see any comments in the chat, which is okay. Just lingering, or what do they call it? Lurking, watching, listening, not commenting. Maybe you're at work. Maybe you don't have the luxury of, maybe you're on your phone or something and you just don't want to go through all that extra effort to type. I get that. No worries, no struggles. Yeah, so let's talk about my Napoleonic rules. As you know, well, maybe you don't, but last week I basically told you guys that I'm definitely going to go with the dice pull turn order. We're going to pull dice almost exactly like bolt action, but I'm making a slight change, or I guess it's not slight, I guess it's a major change. Each corps, because remember this is a corps level game, not a squad level game. So each corps on the table will have a unique color. So first corps will have a color, second corps will have a color, depending on your nationality as well, or what side of the table you're on. And then when you draw a die, it's going to be a specific color, and then that corps corps player will designate one of his brigades to activate. It's that simple. And then when he's done, another die is drawn, another corps' brigades are chosen, and then once all the dice are drawn, that tells us the turn is over, and we go on to the next turn. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Next thing I need to work on is combat. Primarily melee, because shooting I pretty much have locked up, but I want to balance it against shooting. I want to balance my melee against my shooting so that effectiveness is appropriate for one versus the other in my rules. I want melee to be deadly, devastating, or effective for both sides caught in a melee. So that's just a general premise. I want you to want, no, how do I say this? I want you as a player to have to make a decision on whether or not you want to risk closing to melee, knowing you're going to have casualties. And I want you to debate with yourself or your allies to either stand off and shoot at a specific range or whatever, non-melee, or do I want to close in and melee with these guys? I want that to be a conscious decision. There has been games that I have played where it is not a decision. You always close to close combat. Always. Why? Because that's the only way you can cause enough casualties to win. and you play to win the game. And by making it a decision, basically what I'm trying to say is I want both ways to be viable. I want shooting to be something that is done because it works, and I want melee to be done because it's a quick way to get it over with and people will die. So you're trading speed for casualties, basically, is kind of the way I want melee to be. And if doing it one way or the other is the best way, then I want to fix it. Because I don't want there to be a best way. I want there to be decisions made by players, because otherwise it's not a game. You're just robotically moving troops around doing what you were told to do. And I don't want that. I want it to be a player's decision on what the best course of action. Okay, having said that, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to accomplish that with the melee rules compared to the shooting rules. That's something I really got to wrap my head around. But the shooting I pretty much have locked in on how I want it to be. So now I just have to do the melee and see how well my two systems work together to accomplish that goal I'm trying to accomplish. Now, you know my system, my combat system, and I don't want to change it for melee. I don't want to have like a shooting mechanic and then a melee mechanic. I want them to be the same. Well, there is going to be slight differences between the two, obviously, because I want melee to be deadly. So as you might know, my combat system is a dice pool system. You get a number of dice based on your situation and modifiers and stuff like that. Affects how many dice you roll. And then there's a target number that doesn't ever change. So you basically get more or less dice depending on if it's a good situation or not. But the number you're targeting is based on your skill. So you roll that, you get casualties, wada wada bada bada, right? Okay. And that's the way shooting works. But I don't see why that can't also be the way melee works. You get a number of dice. You have a target number based on your skill in melee, weapon system, or something that gives you your target number. And then you modify the number of dice up or down based on maybe your cav going up against a square, or maybe your line formation going up against a column. Or some such nonsense like that. And that'll adjust the number of dice you roll. And then based on how many dice or how many hits you get, your opponent will do the same on his side with his modifiers and dice, because he will have a dice pool as well. And then that will get casualties applied by your opponent. So when you run into combat, melee, you're actually allowing your opponent to fight back, giving you casualties. And I'm okay with that. I think that's the way I'm going to do it. And then I think I'm going to compare casualties to get a result. And that result will be a modifier up or down for your fallback test. And everybody, winner or loser of that result, has to make a fallback test. So what that's kind of doing is, and this is my thought as I'm moving forward, if I go into a melee, I might fall back, even if I win. But he might fall back, even if he wins. So basically, you're gambling on some fallback, some fallbackiness. Can both sides fall back? Actually, yes. Because remember, everybody is making that fallback test. And it's going to be modified based on your result. So even if you win, you could fail the fallback test and be forced to fall back. And it's not a one side has to make the roll and the other side waits for the results. No. Both sides roll. And in the case of infantry, because it'll be different for cavalry, but in the case of infantry, if they both pass their fallback test, then they're locked into melee for next turn. So it'll become an ongoing engagement kind of thing. A heated brawl, as you might call it. If one side succeeds and the other side falls back, right now it's getting pretty obvious, right? The guy that falls back, and the guy that succeeds, I'm trying to decide, I think I'm going to allow occupation of his position. I don't think I want a pursuit with infantry. Okay. Now Now it gets a little tricky when you slide some cavalry into this mix. And that's good. That's the way I like it. If cavalry are involved, and if the infantry passes their fallback, they don't fall back. They just sit there, you know, reveling in their success. And if the cavalry fails their fallback, then they do what every other unit does and they fall back. Distances to be determined. And then now it gets tricky. If it's 2 cavalry, if either one of them, no, that's not true. If there are 2 cavalry against each other and one fails, it will fall back as normal. If they both fail, they both fall back as normal. But if only one passes, instead of occupying the retreating unit's space, cavalry will get a special move, a breakthrough move, allowing it to move, a full move. And if that move gets them into contact with another enemy unit, then another combat will ensue. Now my question is, or what part of my question is, if that is a defending cavalry, like it gets charged by another cavalry unit, and the charging cavalry fails and falls back, does the defending cavalry immediately leap into action and start charging forward? I don't think so. I think only phasing cavalry or acting cavalry are going to get the opportunity for a breakthrough. I think. Okay, that wasn't too hard. That actually went better than expected. I like those helmets now. They look really good. Okay, that color is done. Wow, it's 12:46 already? It's all that talking about paint jobs and people complaining. That's where all the time went. But to be honest, I didn't really have anything scheduled for today. I had no plans other than painting these guys. Okay. I have this brown, and it's only for one thing. The little wooden bar on the back of the toolkit. Now, I was thinking that I was going to use this for chin straps, but I think I'm going to use leather for that. A different color that I don't have out here. It'll be probably one of the final things I do. Let's put it out there, just a reminder. Okay. Toolkit wooden straps. Here we wooden bars. The most complicated paint for this whole thing is probably going to be their webbing. Okay, so the melee, if both cav pass, they're not going to embroil themselves in a rumble. They are both going to bounce. So if you charge in, and this is pretty much all set in stone. I've already got this part all, decided upon. If you charge in, and you and your opponents both pass your fallback test, you still will be forced to fall back, but so will they. So you've succeeded in forcing them to fall back. If you charge in and you pass, and they fail, just like infantry, they will be forced to bounce back. Bouncing is a term from Napoleon's battles. So I keep using that term, but that's really what it is. It's cavalry that in no turn will cavalry ever be locked into melee. No matter who passes or who fails, the end of the melee round, there will not be any two cavalry still in melee. Period. They will always have to bounce or eliminate or force your opponent to bounce. Okay. After the bounce, or after you force somebody to bounce and you're preparing to do a breakthrough, there is a roll that needs to be made. This is the same roll, and I'm going back in time here. It is the same roll that units have to make to initiate a melee. Okay. We're getting into the meat of the crux of the thing, as they say. Before you can charge in and melee a unit, knowing, this is the battalion commander now, knowing his unit is going to be taking a lot of casualties, his battalion has to make, for lack of a better term, a cohesion test. It's going to be an experience test. It's going to be a motivation test. It's going to be a bravery test. I don't know what I'm going to call it. And if they pass, then you, as the mover of the battalion, can now move it up to contact with the enemy. So what does that do before we go to the next step of that? It makes it easier for more experienced troops to engage. The less experienced troops will have a hard time initiating a melee. They'll be hesitant. They will be untrained or unsure of themselves. They'll be wishy and or washy. Okay, I'm flying through these guys. That's what I like to see. Part of that role is something I'm working on, but I'm thinking disorder. If you fail to charge, you become disordered. That's what I'm thinking. I'm also thinking that to remove a disorder, you have to use one of your two movements. So as you know, part of activating a battalion, they can move twice, move and shoot, or shoot with better effectiveness. It does not mean they shoot twice. The effectiveness of it is only about 1.5 times, not double. But it's still better. So if you fail to charge, you become disordered, and I guess you will sit there disordered until you get an opportunity to use a move to become undisordered. So at that point, they would be able to undisorder themselves and shoot, or undisorder themselves and move once. I want to say a disordered unit can't shoot, but I'm not going to do that. I think I'm going to make it a fairly severe penalty for being disordered. I'm thinking you shoot with half your dice. So if you are a 6-dice battalion, you'll shoot with 3 dice. And 90% of battalions are going to be 6-dice battalions. Right? Because it's 1 per base. Other than that, I think you should be able to move around as disordered. But I think but I don't, what am I trying to say? I think I'm going to force the first move to reform. So you can reform and move, or you can reform and shoot. So when would that disorder ever apply to you for shooting? Like I said, half dice. Never. So why bother even mentioning it? because on your turn when it's, because that's what I was thinking. Should I allow them to just go ahead and move and stay disordered, you know, at their own risk? Or should I force a reformation? If I force a reformation, which I don't see a problem with that, then they'll never shoot anyway, because they'll reform and shoot, or they'll reform and move. Makes it easy. Never have to dice. Don't have to do any rounding or anything like that, because they'll never do it. If I ever discuss rules on a stream or on a video, if I ever do that and you like the rule that I'm talking about, drop it in the comments. Say, I really like that rule. I think it's provocative, or I think it's the worst rule I've ever heard. What are you doing? Why are you trying to make it more complicated than it needs to be? Or whatever. If you like it or don't like it, let me know. If you have no thoughts about it, because maybe you don't play Napoleonics, then don't bother commenting. Done with that color. All right. Now, normally, guys, we stream till about 1 o'clock, right? So, now, but I'm going to stay on until we're interrupted. So, as soon as anybody gets home, we're going to just immediately stop the stream. Just so you know. Okay, I have brass here in the wrong place. What the heck? What are you doing to me, brass balls? You should be there. Okay. Because I had these in order, but I guess I moved them around. Okay. American U.S., what do they call this? USA uniform. This is a really good color for the green pants that the U.S. wear, like on D-Day or whatever, like the Rangers or whoever. The, what do they call them? HBTs or whatever. The herringbone twill. Herringbone twill. HBTs, yep. But on the British, they have a few of these grenade pouches, a few of these ammo pouches that are... Okay, that was a lot more than I needed. That are basically that color. All right, so this gunner, of course, he doesn't have any pouches on him. I'm just going to check. I'm going over every figure just to see if they have that type of a pouch. Okay, this guy's got a map case, a pistol. He's got a pouch on his side, but that looks like that's the standard ammo pouch. That's going to be the Russian uniform. Not this extra pouch like this guy. This guy has a bandolier. Okay, I don't see any additional pouches on their back or on their chest. I mean, they've got those big, gigantic British ammo pouches, but those, whoa. Okay. Really? Okay, he's going to be a special case. I've got to paint him. Okay, what do I do with it? Okay, Jack Bone. Okay, where are you? Maybe this is it. Bloodstone? Yeah. Okay, I didn't realize he had a toolkit. Okay, he's got to be painted. No additional pouches. 99% of these guys are not going to have those additional pouches. Okay, he's got that radio pouch, but if I remember right, that was actually that British khaki. Okay, now he's got a grenade pouch on his back, which I actually own that pouch. I've got a lot of World War II gear, reenactment gear, or whatever you want to call it, in the garage. I used that pouch as a training tool. I had actually taken a grenade pouch, stuffed it with a sweatshirt, so it became like a football, and we tossed it around. Okay, he's got a crazy looking pouch on his side. Yeah, not just any pouch. It's got to be specific pouches that are this color, because there are some pouches that are not this color. Okay, there's a flexible fabric shield that goes on the radio. I don't really know what the purpose for that was, but it kind of gives you like a sunscreen, so when you're looking at the knobs and the dials. It also, I think, can be folded up for protection. I think it kind of folds out and becomes like a window. So I'm painting that. Yep, that looks good. Nope. Nope. Like I said, 90% of these guys aren't going to have the pouch I'm looking for. Maybe not 90, but... Okay, we got a fly flying around in the house. Might have to do something to him. Okay, these guys are all looking at the their standard khaki pouches, which are not khaki. It's ooh, oh, this guy's got. They have musette bags as well, and their musette bags are not khaki like the 101st or the 82nd. Their musette bags were actually this light green herringbone twill color. Okay, so he actually has a musette bag. Okay. Yeah, he still needs to get his Piat painted. Okay, dark green, where are you at? See, I misplaced it earlier, unless I put it over here. No. See, I thought it was this one. That's olive gray, olive drab, Russian, American, something. Dark green. Okay. You're coming back. Specifically for that Piat. All right. Yep. No pouches, no pouches. And when I say pouches, I'm talking about those extra pouches. This guy's got a musette bag as well. Yeah, so this company, Offensive Miniatures, great company. They do Napoleonics. They do World War II, all different nations. Well, not all nations, but they do a variety of nations. They've even got some vehicles. And their quality is super good. But having said all that, they sent me, when I ordered the British, I ordered the British platoon, so it came with like 5 or 6, like 50 something miniatures, and in a box. And I went through every one of the miniatures to verify its its presence. And okay, now this has got a musette bag and a grenade bag, so we're going to do both of them. I found that a couple of my miniatures had holes on their right arm, where you're supposed to glue an arm on, but the arm that they provided were left arms, and so there was no way to use them. Their hands would be backwards. They would be crazy looking. So I contacted them and I said, hey, what's up with this? And they said, oh, we made a mistake. Thank you. We'll square it away. And then within a week or something like that, I got another miniature with the proper arm. No questions asked. I really appreciated that. Now, having said that, she made a comment when replying. They said they made a mistake on a wide scale, like they realized they had made a mistake, but they couldn't track it down. They had a bunch of packs that had mistakes, and by me reporting it, they were able to find all the packs that had that mistake. I remember that, even today. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now when you paint it on, it's like super bright. I don't know if you can see that. But when it dries the right color. So don't panic if you paint this color on your model and it's like, oh my God, that's super bright green. It is when it goes on, but it dries like a very dark camouflage color. Camouflage. So I learned something. I might share this with you guys. The Hungarians and the Romanians, they, allies with the Germans, would order some German equipment. You know, like Panzerschrecks or uniforms, helmets even. Okay, and then when the Germans shipped out their weapon systems, their Panzerschrecks and uniforms and everything, the Panzerschreck was in the color of the desert, right? The, what do they call it? Dunkelgelb or mustard brown or desert yellow or whatever you want to call it. And that was the color that they would spray all their metallic equipment to prevent rust. It was an undercoat, a sealant or something. They did that with their tanks as well. In their armor, they had two primary colors that they would color their tanks directly from the factory. One was like this really dark gray. Some people would call it Panzer gray. And the other was that same Dunkelgelb. I want to call it an antioxidant, but that's not right. It's like a, what do they call it? It's like it's a protective color. And then when these foreign nations, Finland, Romania, Hungary, when they received these weapon systems and helmets, they would repaint them or apply their own color to them. And the Hungarians had a mixture of British and Russian colors that they would repaint their weapon systems. So they would be a green color. Or if they were lacking the paint, like if they were short on paint or whatever, they would slap it on and make it more like a camouflage. Yeah, that's something I learned. Okay. Where do I want to go from here? Well, let's just, while I'm thinking about it, let's just knock this one dude out real quick. Yeah, this guy doesn't have a toolbox like on the center of his back. It's not where a tramp stamp would go. It's at his waist. It's on the hip. He's a hipster. I guess I could do those, but I'm going to hold off on that. Okay. I'm not sure what their mess kit color should be. I might have to look that up. I want to say metal, but I have a feeling it's colored. Metal would make the model pop, because whenever you put a metallic color on a 28mm model, it makes the model anything, like even Space Marines or anything like that, it makes them stand out. And sometimes a model needs that. I'm not going to do it though. I'm going to do it accurate. Okay, so he's got his toolkit painted. Okay, that's dark green. Okay, I know where that goes. Okay, I might do that. I think I'm going to paint this guy. I thought about painting this guy's umbrella a black color, but I think I'm going to paint it green. I want it to stand out. Okay, I had to mute myself. I sneezed. If you were wondering what color these guys were primed in, I primed them in leather brown. It is a Vallejo spray primer. I find that white is a really good primer for bright colors. So like if you need like blues and reds and yellows, a white primer is really good. Extra good. But if you're going with dark colors, I used to prime exclusively with black, but I found that there's nothing wrong with black primer. I mean, absolutely nothing wrong with black primer. But I found that faces flesh color doesn't really go on black very good, and it goes on brown really good. Okay, but that's not why I do it. When you prime a figure black, in my case, sometimes I can't find the details because the black hides it. So I made a compromise. A brown. Brown is still very dark. If you miss something, it'll still have that dark shade, shadowy color. I don't need much. I'm just doing a Piat. Okay. The Piat is going to be that dark green. Now, where are you, Piat? I'm looking, I'm founding. Okay. Because I've done all the other ones. Whoa, I almost hit the green. Okay, that was all bubbles. Come on, really? Okay, that's got some paint in it. I also have this model here that they sent me as a free gift. It's a German soldier with a top hat. And it's part of a special line that they have, which apparently is from a book series or a graphic novel or something that I've never heard of. You know, it's some kind of like Sergeant Rock, you know, but in England. They have this German squad. And they do their figure line. And they look really good. And I could use them as like characters. Maybe in a World War II role-playing game or something. But a few of them actually look like soldiers. Most of them look like cartoon characters. Okay, so I thought I was going to paint him up with this batch because they're all offensive miniatures, or at least 80% of them are offensive miniatures. But I wound up not doing it. because he's German, he's going to be completely different colors and stuff. Okay. Right. Dark green. Done. All right, give me a second. I've got to do a little research here. Okay. No, I don't think I want that. Okay. Once I find what I'm looking for, I'll probably put it on the screen and show it to you. Oh, that would have been really good. But nope, not going to do that. Okay, so let's try something else. Let's delete that. Really? Okay. Oh, that was funny. Okay, maybe I need to include World War II. Because it was showing me modern stuff. That's a really nice picture. I think I'm going to kind of show you it, even though I'm not using it as reference. Okay, I can't zoom in too big. I don't even know what this site is. Let's move some stuff around. Allow, don't allow. There we go. I don't know what I'm doing. Center display, bam. Okay, this is for sale. This is just an artwork piece, but you can see he's got the parachute around his throat. He's got a green backpack, green ammo pouches, and then this looks like an actual like khaki something. Okay, hey, what's this? Sexy. All right, sorry, I got distracted. All right, that won't actually go anywhere. Okay, got it. Okay, I can close that. All right, got it. Lego? Okay, but that's not a Lego figure. Crazy. West Wind. Really? That looks like Warlord. Okay. Paras in action. Great, great. Is it here? What I'm looking for? I don't see it. Okay. See, now these guys are all wearing like khakis, right? I don't know. You can't. I don't know if you can see that on the screen. Yeah, this guy. He's got here. Let's do this. Yeah, this guy right there. He's got like khakis, and that's Montgomery, right? Okay. But you notice how these are kind of like a green khaki. And like there's that green ammo pouch that I was talking about where everything... Well, okay, hold on. Hey, Sean Connery. Yeah, see how that's like bright khaki, but it's not supposed to be like that. That's Tops or whoever. Yeah, it's supposed to be more like this. This guy's more accurate. Okay, but what I'm trying to find is a back. Here we go. It's blurry. I know that's like a G.I. Joe kind of character. Okay. Yeah, that looks really good. I mean, he's using the proper color of green on his straps. I like it. But what color is that? So this guy looks like he's done a lot of research. But what is that? Is that kind of a brown? Is that normal? Because I'm looking for his mess kit. That's the Netherlands, so it's probably not exactly correct. This looks like an Italeri picture, and you see he's got the same color as his gear. Look at that. That's all correct. But it doesn't show me the back. I think that's the Netherlands guy. Okay, commandos I would assume would have pretty close to the same gear, but not exact. Yeah, he's got kind of like, looks like a felt cover over his canteen. That's probably correct. But I don't like the tan. Where'd it go? So there's the mess kit. So it must be a canteen and not a mess kit. Okay. Yeah, it's probably a felt cover. And it's not, it's more of a brown. That's like the third one I've seen that showed brown. That's what I was thinking it was going to be, was more of a dark gray. I think I'm going to go with like a gray brown. like there's one with like a gray brown. Darker than gray, but lighter than brown. It's more like a brown gray, if that makes sense. Just giving it a few extra scrolls just to see if something stands out. Okay, let me go change from that to this. Yeah, this one is probably more accurate. Greenish brown, maybe. And this shows like a dark green. We know that's not right. It's a gray. Okay, I give up. Okay, so let me kind of visualize what I just saw and what colors I have that would really match that. A brownish gray. I want to say this one. Brownish gray. More brown than gray. More brown than gray. Got my mic all the way back here. You can't hear me. Okay, what do we got over here? Canvas. This looks really good. I think I might go with something like that. It's kind of a brown gray. I'm going canvas. We're going to canvas their canteen cups. Or their canteens. It's actually a felt cover over the canteen, because the canteen is probably metal, just metallic. That should be enough. And this is a medium what do they call it? Yeah, it's a medium. What it will also do for this paint is reduces gloss because it's matte, of course, but it increases transparency. So the brown, the leather brown that's already on the model, will influence the color as I paint it on. So it won't be purely canvas, it'll be canvas with a little leather brown shining through. But mostly canvas. Let's see how this looks. Yep, that looks perfect to me. Now, it'll always look like it has more coverage than it actually does until it dries, because I think the pigment starts to pull apart. So basically we just have to wait for it to dry to actually get a good representation of what this color with the transparency will look like. But either way, I think it's a good color. Okay. All right, remember guys, our time is short. I expect my wife to come walking through those doors any minute now, because I think her class is over at 1 o'clock. Now, all this week, she has been cooking her ass off. She's the feastcrat at an event that's going to happen in, not this weekend, but next weekend. And so she's doing a lot of cooking and getting ready for that event. She's pre-cooking basically, so she can take all this food and then just basically just warm it up when she gets there. But having said that, this weekend she's not feast-cratting, but she is going to an event, which means I might actually get online at some point this weekend and chit-chat with you guys again. It's not going to be anything scheduled, so just keep your eyes open to my channel. Maybe hit the notification icon so you can be notified whenever I go live. But it might not be miniature painting or anything like that. It might just be me playing games online or me doing some other nonsense. Yeah, there's just one game that I pretty much it's called Star Citizen. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. I backed it back in 2014, I think, 2014, September. So it's been almost exactly 8 years of me backing this game. And I don't mind that. I don't mind them working on the game and it taking 10 years. I don't mind. I personally don't know how long it takes to make an MMO with first-person shooting and planets and all that stuff. So I'm not one to judge, but you can only be super hyped for a game for so long. After about 7 years of me just telling all my friends, pushing the game, building a good community on my Discord and in the game as like a unit in the game, and a guild, you can call it a guild. They call them organizations, but it's pretty much the same thing. And really hyping the game and being hyped and excited about it and constantly pushing it and telling my friends. See, I'm repeating myself. Well, that's the problem. I can only do that so long before I get burnt out, which I have. I've gotten burnt out. Now, the first few years, there's no way I was going to get burnt out because everything was changing. They were developing, and the game was coming along, and you could actually see back up. They have like weekly shows to show you what they're working on, and easy to get excited and all that. And then something changed about a year ago. The shows are still coming out. They're still talking about the game. But I've noticed it's all repeat. They're not directly, but re-televising the exact same stories that they told me 8 years ago. They're saying, yeah, we're doing this and we're doing that. Okay, you already told us that. Yeah, and we're doing this too. You've already told us that. And so that's where I'm running into a problem. It's all the same information. For a low okay, how do I word this politely? For somebody that doesn't follow the production like I do, this would all be new to them. But because I have been around since 2014, I've been excited about this project. I am very familiar with everything they've said. I've got a good memory about this game. And I'm starting to see information being repeated. And it bothers me. Bothers me to the point where I've thought about putting a video out expressing my concerns. Now, there are people that backed the game back in 2012 when it was first announced. And they were super excited about this. And they have disappeared into the woodworks like myself. They have basically disappeared. Why? Because they probably saw this happening way before I did. Meaning they became disillusioned faster than I did. I was a fanboy. I was a white knight. I was whatever you'd want to call it. But not anymore. So I look and I see, oh, they patched the game. Because even though they're in the middle of development, they're also allowing you to play their alpha so that you can experience the development of the game at the same time the game is being made. And I remember the time when there used to be 15 FPS on my computer. And I thought it was me, so I upgraded my computer and I still got 15 FPS. It wasn't me, it was them. And now the FPS is in a good state. 60 plus. But there is absolutely nothing to do in the game. Which is a good thing. Because again, it's an alpha and your account's going to be wiped as soon as they have another patch. So that's frustrating. Not in a negative way, but it is frustrating that you put all this time into your character and stuff like that only to have it wiped. But go in with the knowledge that that is what's going to happen. So you just kind of got to take it, accept the, the truth, and move on, which I have no problem with that. But the problem is, if they put a new patch out and I log in, nothing's changed. Or, in my case, in the latest case, this is probably the biggest thing that's turned me off to the game, is their medical gameplay. It is complicated. Super annoying is what it is. They're making the game, they want it to be realistic. So, like, you get killed or whatever, your body lays there, your friends have to get in a ship and fly all the way out to wherever your body is, which could be hours, you heard me, hours away. They come to you, they find your body, which there's no way to locate your body because you don't have a beacon on you or anything. So they find your body after hours, you heard me, hours of searching an area. They take you back to the medical facility and they revive you through hand-wavium magic. Okay. If it was just that, I would be okay. I'd be like, okay, that's cool. Whatever. But after about 30 minutes of laying there and nobody's able to find you and get your body and bring you back, you die. So there's almost no chance, unless they're with you to begin with, to find you and bring you back. Okay, no problem. So what happens is you just respawn at the closest, or I shouldn't say closest, at the last planet you were on that has a hospital. Okay, you would think that's no big deal. But when you respawn, all of your stuff is where you died. You remember those old corpse runs or whatever that nobody liked? Well, they're back. Or you can just ignore it, allow your stuff to be destroyed and eliminated and gone, and take whatever credits you have in the bank and go out and re-equip yourself. Oh, wait. Your ship is on that planet. There's no way for you to get back there to get your stuff. And your ship is gone, which costs an enormous amount of resources. And hypothetically, let's just say I just started the game and I don't know what I'm doing, and I crash land on a planet by accident, killing me and my ship. I don't have any friends yet. I respawn in the hospital, broke, and no ship. It's just too unforgiving. Let's just say that. Okay, so I've been playing this game for 8 years. I've got a pretty good amount of credits. I've got a couple of good ships. I get a mission to go into a bunker and take out some terrorists. When I say bunker, I mean underground facility. Elevator down, rooms underground. Okay, so I take the elevator down. I find some terrorists. I shoot a couple of terrorists. Everybody's happy. 100 terrorists hear my gunfire, and they come over and they kill me. Right? Because I just killed like 4 or 5 of them, and the rest decide I need to go. So I die. Whoop, excuse me. So I die. Without a ship. I respawn. But luckily, I've got a second ship. But the armor that I bought to go on that mission is super expensive. Almost not worth having, because I realized that it's not. It's better just to go naked, because if you get killed, you don't lose anything. And then they started incorporating these loot boxes. Not something you have to unlock and buy or anything like that. Nothing like that. But there's these boxes that you can find on missions that have loot in them. I've not seen one of them yet. And so basically it's wearing on me, so I stopped playing. Yeah. That's me just venting. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so my point is, I'm probably going to play a little bit of that just to see what kind of changes there are, because there was a patch that just came out and I haven't been on since that patch. But I don't think there's going to be any changes. I really don't. Okay, right now I'm looking for bayonet sheaths because I'm painting them the same color. And there are a few, and that one's I've already painted. Okay. Basically, I'm going back over it again, looking for bayonet sheaths. Not very many of them have them, but some of them do. Like that guy. Yeah, we're getting ready to jump into the Russian green and really touching up these pouches. Because once the Russian green is painted, that's 90% of these models. It's not 90% coverage, but that's not what I meant. 90% of the time. I got rifles to paint. I got Sten guns. Bandoliers. Okay, that bayonet is hidden. He's got his helmet covering most of it. There you go. What's funny is this color that I'm using, this canvas, it looks a lot like Russian green. Russian uniform. It shouldn't. I'm not mixing it with anything. But that's how it goes on. It probably doesn't dry that way. Okay, so we'll have to take a look at it when it dries. Yeah, because this is the same color that I put on the canteens, and they look dark green, like a darker green. Now, I would have expected more of these guys to have like ropes wrapped around them, like belts or whatever, but I don't see a whole lot of rope. Because I thought the British jumped in with a bunch of rope. That guy's got a bugle. A bunch of these guys are carrying pistols, and they have holsters, and I think the holsters are leather. Yeah, I don't think they're canvas. Okay. And okay. Okay, we're going to make a jump into the Russian green, but I'm not going for the shoulder straps or the belts. I'm just going for pouches. Either ammo pouches or other accessory pouches that are on their bodies. We're going Russian green. It's not Russian green, I lied. It is Russian uniform. Adds a little viscosity. Okay, we're going to stir that up just a little bit. Here we go. Okay. Speaking of computer games, not War Thunder, what am I saying? IL-2 released their Normandy campaign, their Normandy map. I was super excited. Still am. Super excited to play the Normandy map. And that's probably what I'm going to do this weekend, is play a lot of that Normandy map. Tonight is going to be my D&D game. So I really won't get a chance to play, and our game lasts till like 11. So I won't really have a bunch of time tonight, to jump on that. Yeah, those two colors almost look pretty close. One does have a little bit more brown in it, though, the canvas. But it is close. I'm surprised about how close it is together, color-wise. Again, I'm just doing ammo pouches and accessory pouches and stuff like that. I'm not doing the actual straps. I need a fine tip brush for that. The brush that I'm using right now is probably a 2. It's giant. So I'm only painting big things on the model. If I start getting into the detail, like the straps, I'll swap my brush out. Okay, it sounds like my wife might be home. I heard somebody outside. Now, it could be a neighbor, because I hear them coming and going all the time. Now, I find the British paratroopers a little bit weird. They all have these super humongous ammo pouches on their chest, right? They're like giant. Riflemen all carry those. And then the guys with the Sten guns, or Thompsons, have those very same ammo pouches in addition to the stick magazine ammo pouches, like shoulder strap ammo pouches. Thinking about it, I bet the Sten gun magazines would fit in those giant chest ammo pouches. That's why they keep them. But it just seems like that's weird that the riflemen have the same pouches that the submachine gunners have. But But they do look big enough that they could hold a... And even this guy, he doesn't even have a rifle. He's got a pistol. And he still has those giant ammo pouches on his chest. Now, I remember when I was in the Army, back in the 1800s, I had these ammo pouches that would carry my... Okay, let's rephrase this. How am I going to say it? These were these big 30-round magazine ammo pouches that I was given. But the actual magazines that they issued me were 20-round magazines. So what did I do? Well, I actually had C rations in my ammo pouch. That's right, I said C ration, not MREs. But actually, when I was starting to get out of the Army, MREs were just now starting to be released or issued. But the C rations came in these cans, and they would fit perfectly down inside these mag pouches. So yeah, weird. And I never would have considered using Russian green for British straps and pouches if I didn't see it on the Plastic Soldier Company's paint guide. I never would have thought about it. I would have looked for some other green. I would have mixed matched or whatever. But they said, just use Russian green. I'm thinking, what? That's the same color Russians use on their uniforms. Is it the same? Yes, it's the same. It's also the same as a lot of the Hungarian uniforms, because I noticed the Hungarians had a lot of different colored uniforms. I'm not so sure about the Romanians or the Finnish, but I know specifically for the Hungarians because I had a commission where I had to paint some for a guy, and last year I painted him English brown, and this year I painted him Russian green because all the research pointed to Russian green, with only a few units being in the brown. Now I could have painted him field gray because the Germans are the ones issuing them their uniforms. Or I should say selling their uniforms to the Hungarians. But so were the English. And so were the Russians. Okay, this guy's got like 4 pouches on his chest. This guy is ready for some action. He thinks he's going to need all that extra ammo. Unlike this guy that has no pouches. Looks like Colonel, I was going to say Frost, but it's not him. It was General Urquhart. Okay. Yeah, the Normandy map, I mean, it's just another map, you know, for IL-2. It's a dogfighting game. Airplane, I'm not going to say simulation, even though it can be played like a simulation almost. It's not DCS. It's not that much of a simulation. It's still a game. But you still bomb stuff. You still shoot down airplanes, rockets, you know, escort bombers, tail gunners, all that stuff. You got a lot of that involvement in the game. Whoa, but what I was going to say was I play it with Track IR. And that takes me a minute to get set up. Because I have to attach something to my headset. And gotta make sure the software is all set up before I start the game. And I'm one of those guys that if I'm gonna play a game, I'm gonna record it so that I can upload it later for your enjoyment. And it takes too long. It really doesn't. It really doesn't take too long. It's just that at 1 in the morning, I don't know if I necessarily want to do it. Get it all set up to play. So you haven't seen me playing it as much as I would like. Does this guy have any pouches? It's hard to tell. I think that's a pouch. That guy's a flamethrower, so it's a little hard to tell. Ah, the radio. Yes. It's in one of those larger pouches. I took a little extra effort on these 3 radios, drilled the holes where they belong, and attached antennas using fishing line. One of the radios, the antenna is actually on the side of the radio and not, you know, coming out of the top of it. So I just glued the antenna to the side of the radio. Okay, now this guy's got 1,000,000 pouches. I like how the British, all their pistols have like these lanyards. This guy's pistol's still in the holster, but you can see where the lanyard ties off to his belt. That's cool. Okay, I've already done that guy. Nice, just making sure. Just making sure. Another thing about IL2, it has this feature that I don't like. It has a feature that you can record your mission, right? And then you can go back in later and watch the recording. And you can watch the recording from other people's perspectives. So if I'm dogfighting a 109, let's say, and he does some crazy maneuver or blows up or whatever he does, I can take the recording in and I can look to see how he blew up or how he did that crazy maneuver or whatever, which that's cool. But as a streamer or as a YouTuber, I want to take that video and I want to directly import it to my editing software so that I can edit the video and upload it. But you can't. It's done in a game-only format. So what I have to do, and maybe I'm doing something wrong, but what I have to do, I'm gonna double check. Maybe since the latest patch they fixed this. You got to take the video, play the video in the in-game player while I record the video using my screen capture software, which I'm using now, OBS. And then once I got it copied, then take it over to my OBS as a video and then apply it to my stream so that I can, or my other videos, combine them, edit them, all that. So it's an extra layer of difficulty that doesn't need to be there. If IL2 would just save the video in an editable file format like MP4 or whatever, then I could just drag and drop it over into my player and edit it from there without having to go in and re-record it. But I can see why, because it's not a direct recording. What it is it's a game file that you can go in and, like I said, look at other people's perspectives. And you can't do that with an MP4, right? You can only do that with a game file. And so it's just an extra pain in the butt to get cool footage of, planes crashing or me shooting at them from their perspective or whatever. So I respect those guys out there that take the extra effort to record the video, go through the video, finding the best angles, recording those, and then editing them into their content. I can see where that takes a lot of extra effort. I feel like I don't want to do that. So what I'll do is I'll play the game and you'll get my first person perspective in the cockpit, or you'll get like a third-person perspective, but it would be my perspective. Like I just did a video about me escorting some bombers. It was very uneventful. We flew there, they dropped their bombs, and we flew back. I had to record the bomb drop. I had to record the bombs blowing up the target. Otherwise, there would be no other content on that video. But just for that little piece of crap video, there's a lot of extra effort. A lot. So I don't necessarily want to do that. I just want to fly, turn the, record my game. When it's done, edit out all the fast travel and just watch what I got. That's all I want to do. That guy's got a big shell in his hand. I'm going to paint the tip, because the rest is going to be brass. Okay. Okay. I almost got all the big pouches painted. Then I got to switch to a smaller brush so I could do some straps. And then we'll be almost done with these guys. Almost. Alright guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys go. I'm going to turn the camera off, and I will see you this weekend. If you're interested in watching some IL-2, I think I'm going to do that this weekend. Alright, I'll catch you next time.